When I make these reviews, something that always sparks my attention or even gets me really excited about a product is when it provides more value than what the price would indicate, or it does something beyond what the competitors are doing at its price point. And today, the Nobsound B100 falls into that category. An actually fun little tube amp that has quirks and oddities, but at the same time offers so much simple enjoyment. First of all, if you already own this one or have spotted some of the previous documentation, you may have noticed that the manual on these was stating it's a Class A amp. Right off the bat, I was suspicious on this after unboxing, but since then it's been communicated that it's actually a Class AB, which was a surprise in a surprise. Class A caught me off guard and I was fully expecting this one to be a Class D amp inside, but surprise, Class AB. And they ship with an updated, accurate manual now as well. Let's take a look at this little guy first. It's literally a little square box. It actually looks really well made, and it's a fun deviation from some of the other budget designs in the market. This type of design and style isn't nearly as typical as the small amps of the world like the V3 and A07. Kind of a refreshing change. You likely either notice the tube straight away looking at this, or the VU meter. Let's start from the top. You get 4 tubes, it's a preamp tube buffer stage, and straight away, they were not common in the first release. And you might have run into a number of people saying that you can't get these anywhere, but just so you're aware, you can actually get these direct from Nobsound at this point. I think they even have them available on Amazon for replacement. I really doubt the replacement will be required anytime soon though, unless you break one of these, as these are simply used in the buffer stage, so it's not like these are going to get that hot in this use case. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please consider it. I have all kinds of great reviews on the way from companies like Arundel, Hi-Fi Man, Bookart, Fozzy, Audiolab, AIMA, FIO, SMSL, as well as some DIY and vintage. Likely something for everyone. It really helps out the channel. Anyways, let's get back to it. On to the next visual attention getter, that VU meter. And this one falls into more of the fun category. For one, it's a single VU meter on a stereo amp. And 2, it's not the most accurate if your volume is either low or high, but it certainly moves and entertains the eye. Need it or not, I still personally like it. After all, this review is all about fun within the hi-fi space. All the controls are on the top of this unit except for the volume knob in the front center. That's where you'll find all the controls like input switching, track controls, play pause. Input will be the heavy hitter for myself. Track controls and volume won't be used in my configuration, as I much prefer to bring in just a Weem streamer to pair with it. Operate the track controls and volume from the Weem, as the B100 does not have a remote. It's one of the few things here that I really wish this one had. Nonetheless, I bring in the Weem, which also has a remote available, and pretty much solves that. Flipping it around, we get further into the value proposition on this. It's actually a really well-equipped integrated amp. For inputs, we have Bluetooth, optical, coax, USB, as well as 2 analog RCA inputs. For outputs, we have the speaker outputs, obviously, as well as a headphone amp and a sub output. It's not missing much here and really opens you up to just about anything short of HDMI connections. A couple notables here, the internal DAC will get the job done, but if you're looking for a simple fidelity upgrade, that's likely where it's going to be at. It's likely on par with something like the Weem Mini, but I did notice a notable improvement when I moved up to a much more capable Weem Pro Plus. So if you want to increase the capabilities of the B100 through the addition of the Weem app, parametric EQ, things like that, as well as increase the fidelity and streaming options, it's really a good, simple upgrade path. 2 more notes on the back. First, it obviously has a built-in power supply, no wall wart here. So it's truly an all-in-one little box. Second, why is this dang little power switch hiding back here? It's a bit of a crowded area once you have all your speaker cables running back here as well. On top of the amp with the rest of the controls would have been perfect in this case. Maybe the intention here was to leave it on, but a simple power button on the top or front would have served it well just for ease of use. Not a problem in any way, more of just a quirk. As for how this one sounds, it actually really surprised me with its performance. It's not going to replace my Audiolab 9000A, of course, but as a second system or something like in an office, bedroom, or smaller space, it really performs well. I don't really like to go into flowery terms on small amps like this. Instead, I would rather you as the viewer knows that it actually exceeded my expectations as far as quality. It was almost comical that it sounded as good as it did when I brought in a sub with it. As for power, it puts out around 25 watts per channel. So while you need to keep this in mind, it doesn't need to be strictly limited to small bookshelves. I powered a pair of power-hungry Polk LSIM 703s, a DIY CSS Tory speaker, which I'll link above. I had a 3-part build series on that one, as well as floor standing models, the KLH Model 5 and the very efficient KLH Kendalls, really without any issues. Do I think you should search out large speakers to pair with this? No, not really. Stick to speakers on the smaller side or highly efficient options to get the most out of this. Just don't let the wattage fool you. You can still get a big sound in the right space with this. The headphone jack really wasn't anything to write home about, but in all honesty, it wouldn't be something I would use here anyways. Most of the time I have external amps because I get so many different headphone options in, and I typically need more wattage to play with on that. And same with the Bluetooth really. While I think it's great that they included both of these as it ups the value for some, I generally use, like I said, the dedicated amp and an external streamer. But I'm not you though. I could definitely see someone like a college student bringing in something like this, super simple, into their dorm space, all the connections you might need, even optical to bring in the TV. Separate components can be fun, but sometimes the space you're working with doesn't call for it or allow it. So it's nice to have options like the B100 here that covers just about everything at a really budget price. When I think about the pros with this one, I just keep coming back to I simply had fun with it. Everything from the look to the simple use really clicks with me. It has enough power to get the job done. It doesn't have any glaring sonic issues, at least nothing worth noting on a sub $200 product. The sound is actually quite nice. This will realistically cover almost all your input-output needs and even adds that dedicated sub-out that's often missing. I would personally use this device in an office space most likely. Plenty of power for a small space, run it on a set of bookshelves, and bring in that small sub for a really competent sound. The VU meters will give you something to stare at during those long days in the office too. Like I said, not everything is roses, and this does have some quirks, and some of this is picking a little bit as this is under $200, but I would have liked to have seen a remote with this, primarily for input switching, volume, and power, because my next item is that power switch on the back of the device. It's mainly just the location of it. Lastly, and I want to preface this with, it does just fine, but I just want you to know what to expect here. The DAC isn't perfect, and I wouldn't expect it to be at this price. Bring in something like the Win Pro Plus or SMSL SE1 and instantly get a jump in performance with this. That's an upgrade path if you're interested. If you're simply going to use this for casual listening, the internal DAC likely does all you need here. I would also imagine a good number of my audience already has a streamer DAC in mind, so they probably have something that they can use here if they really want to. This was a refreshing review of a simple product that gives you a lot for the money. I'm honestly a bit surprised this one doesn't get more traction. Maybe it's the wattage that drives some people away. Either way, if you're looking for something like this, it'd be a good one to consider for that second system or even your primary system depending on where you're at in your audio journey. I was really surprised I enjoyed this as much as I did. It might be hard to find something that offers all of this within $100 of the price, I'd say. Well, thanks for watching today. Please like and subscribe if you could. It really helps drive smaller channels like this forward. Take care. See ya.